Hey guys and gals, Kevin Bupp here. I've got some very exciting news I'd like to share with you before we jump into today's show. Now, after closing on Fund 4's first acquisition of a $50 million institutional grade mobile home park, we're adding a second irreplaceable piece of real estate to the portfolio, and it's coming into the fund with over $1.5 million of built-in equity for our investors day one. Now, when I say irreplaceable, I really do mean it. I mean, this is an affordable yet high-end waterfront mobile home park located in the Columbus, Ohio market. Quite literally, every single mobile home on this property is right on the lake, each with its very own personal boat dock, meaning a very high demand for affordable weekend getaway options, as well as year-round housing for working Americans. This is a true unicorn of a property, and you will not see another one like this come around again. It really is a one of a kind. A few other aspects worth noting. This park is producing stable and predictable cash flow day one. We're acquiring it with an excellent in-place Freddie Mac loan at a 3.3% interest rate for the next 8.5 years. This also includes a period of interest-only payments. Again, the simple supply and demand dynamics here are enough to get excited about. This is affordable lakefront real estate for both the working American families as well as folks looking to lock down a reasonably priced waterfront escape. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Visit investwithsunrise.com to register for our webinar and learn about all the wonderful aspects of this property going into Fund 4. Again, that's investwithsunrise.com. Now, let's get on to the show. Hey guys, Kevin Bupp here, and I want to welcome you to another episode of the Real Estate Investing for Cash Flow podcast, where our mission is to help you build and maintain massive amounts of cash flow through income-producing real estate investments. Now, our guest for this week's show is real estate investment and developer Cagri Kanver. Now, Cagri is a managing partner at Watermark Investments, a multifamily office LP that invests in various assets across a variety of price brackets nationwide. Now, their investment strategy really revolves around ground-up projects and partnerships with reliable developers, ensuring good income and diversity within their portfolio. Now, to date, they have 13 projects nationwide, including rental buildings in Oklahoma, Chicago, and Brooklyn, a logistics center, doctor's offices, and office campus in Tampa Bay, all of which have been highly profitable, successful ventures. And so with that, guys, it's my honor to welcome Cagri Kanver here today. Cagri, how you doing, my friend?
I'm great, Kevin. Thanks for inviting. I truly appreciate it.
I'm excited to have you here, excited to learn, everything about you, my friend. I mean, I know we've had a good conversation here for the last 20 minutes. It's been great to get to know you on a little bit more on a personal level, but excited to peel back the curtain a little bit. You've had a lot of experiences over the last 20 or so years. I know that you really, and I don't want to steal your thunder here. I'm going to let you kind of fill in the blanks, but I know that you ultimately got your start as an architect, but made a pivot at a very, very challenging time in overall global history, specifically U.S. Finance world was crumbling in 2008, and you made a big pivotal change in your life and your career, and which basically has brought you up to where you are today. So I want to back up a little bit because I gave you a very brief introduction, right? I didn't go deep into your bio or anything like that because I'd like you to, with your own words, tell us a little bit more about yourself. For those that aren't familiar with you, that don't know your story, tell us a little bit more about yourself, if you could, my friend.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much. First of all. Second, for the audience, after living 28 years in the United States, I still have my Turkish accent. So I apologize if anybody has a hard time understanding. So I will try to speak slowly. That was my school mentor's recommendation. Char, don't talk too fast, just slowly so people will understand what you're talking about. So my life story, it's all started in Turkey. I was born and raised in Turkey and came to United States in 1996 to study architecture, which was the dream back then. I studied architecture in Houston. In a flat land, they call it, where there is no zoning, no rules. You can dice and slice anything and everything you want under the name of architecture. So I was part. It's true, still.
That's funny.
Still no zoning.
Yeah.
And but Texas is still one of the largest and the fastest growing state in the country, especially Houston, Austin, Dallas, San Antonio. So studied architecture, having an MBA, and then start working with one of the world's biggest architectural companies in the world, HOK. And I was there 5 years and got an offer from Deloitte Consulting in Chicago after 9 years living in Houston. So I couldn't wait to leave. And back then, my daughter was a year old. She was born in Houston, so she's official Texan. Most of the time, people believes that anybody lives more than 10 years, they are official Texans. Thanks God that I lived 9 years in Houston. So Deloitte Consulting was a different journey. It's a different structure. It's a different mentality. What I learned in HOK under the name of architecture is the execution, how architects can execute the buildings. And what I learned at Deloitte is more process, how you can bring everything up to speed if it's a construction, if it's a development, if it's an architectural project. So process is the key. If you can come up with a good structure, the failure will be minimum. So 2008-ish, I think mid-second quarter, as everyone knows, the economy collapsed, and especially Chicago market was not doing well. But guess what? At the same time, there were some countries in the world booming, like Turkey. And I switched gears, left Deloitte, and became part of the journey from US to Turkey, average twice a month trips.
Wow.
For 5 years. And I mean, I ended up being part of large scale projects like airport, big hospitals, big infrastructure projects, not only in Turkey, but also surrounding countries like Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan. And I start taking a lot of consultants, architects, financiers, engineers to Turkey for them being part of these large-scale projects. Because in US, we have the experience. In Turkey, they need the help. Plus, they really know how to construct. So it was a great fit for both ends. And 5 years, and during the conversation today, Kevin, I'm going to come up with 4 different keywords, and one of them is coming. After working 6 years in Turkey, back and forth, being part of 32 different large-scale projects, enormous projects, including the new airport project in Istanbul, I learned one important aspect in business, which is relationship. Without relationship, you can be the smartest, you can be the wisest, you can be the best in your class, you can have the best grades. Without relationship, you're not going to go that far. So why I did mention relationship is the key. With all the context connections that I ended up doing in Turkey, 5 years of my career for working on these large-scale projects, I ended up meeting the billionaires, the people who created this big era in Turkey with large-scale projects. And they ended up asking me how they can be part of the real estate in United States and especially in New York. So after living 9 years in Chicago, first 9 years in Houston, second 9 years in Chicago, I ended up moving to New York, where I left my daughter behind with her mother, and start being part of large scale or small scale, but some type of scale of real estate in New York area, especially in Manhattan. So Turks want to come as a developer. I explained them why it's not a good fit. They're going to lose shirts if they become a developer. It's better to team up with locals. It's better to structure a team where people are comfortable working together, and where they really being needed is with the investment. And I start bringing my contacts, connections from the region, not only from Turkey, but from Middle East and CIS countries, separated countries from Russia, as an investor. And my role was not only investing with them, but my role was also structuring the team, which I learned from Deloitte, which I learned from HOK, which I learned from all these years that I spent under the name of real estate cycle. And putting the right team together, putting the right people together, putting the right amount of money together helped us to be part of good sized projects and generating great IRR from these projects. So part of the story, let me pause there and let me hear more questions if there's
Sure.
any.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate you sharing that. The importance of the team, it's real, but I would love to better understand your perspective. You and I can go out, we can say we need, these particular skill sets. We need a financier, we need an attorney, we need an architect, we need an engineer. We need all these members of the team, but talk I would love to get your understanding and more so your perspective of not just finding the right skill sets, but getting those individuals that have those skill sets on board with your vision, with how you seeing it through your lenses, getting excited about your mission, your vision, because team members with the skill set that's needed, but the longevity really comes from getting the right people on the team that can share in
Absolutely.
your vision, that can collectively see where you're trying to drive things. And so maybe if you could share some insights there, that would be great.
Absolutely. Like whomever comes from Turkey or from the region, my first recommendation is no matter what, to have the right legal. Because without the legal, it's not going to go too far. They will need it eventually, either for their contract or for their LOI, for their projects. They'll need a legal subject matter in that particular field under the name of real estate. The other one is CPA/tax accountant. They will need it because once you're caught, then there's no going back. So you really need to have a good one around you. So real estate has three legs: investment, development, and construction. There is no developer without investment, and there is no construction without a good developer. So in countries like Turkey, this is bundled up. One company has three services under their belt, while they are taking some risk, which that risk in the United States is extremely huge and heavy. So what is not a risk overseas, it's a huge risk and liability in this country, and extremely important to avoid the unnecessary risk under the name of real estate. So that's why developers run the show without providing construction and some investment services. Does it make sense so far, Kevin?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I was
I
going to ask.
think,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead, Tori. No, I was just going to ask you as you were getting started, assembling this team. There's other key, there's key hires that you're making. My guess is that as you were assembling this team, you weren't necessarily hiring all this in house, right? Like you were
No.
outsourcing the legal, outsourcing the accounting to your CPA firm, what have you. But I'm sure at some point in time there was a critical hire that you had internally, that really helped fuel the growth of your company. Maybe, and I'm sure you've had many hires since then, but what was that first absolutely critical internal hire that you made, and what role did they play?
It's not a Kevin, it's not a hire, it's a partner. I
Okay.
found the most appropriate local developer first for myself, second for my investors from coming Turkey,
Mm-hmm.
because they all rely on me, right? They all asking me if our partnership in New York is the right partnership. And as you can imagine, in New York, where city never sleeps, There are so many developers, contractors, architects, service providers. Finding the right one, right match, right project, right location, right amount of money, right budget, right style, right architecture is not the easiest thing. I think to answer your question, the most important thing for a foreigner coming from overseas to find the good local partner, because development is local, development is not international. Like I cannot come directly from Istanbul or from London to come and develop things here. I cannot also go from New York to Istanbul to develop things there.
Sure.
So you have to have the right local representation and a partner. So that's the most important thing. I have so many stories that I'm not gonna tell, especially the most bizarre ones, but it's unbelievable. Like what you believe is one thing, what the reality is another thing. So far, we have 9 different real estate companies that I'm being partner or owning it. And out of these real estate companies, so far, we haven't done one mistake yet with our partners. So the returns are great. People are happy. More people are coming from overseas because the second keyword, ready? The first one was relationship. The second keyword is reputation. If you ruin that reputation either here in the United States or in Turkey, you're more than welcome to get out. So reputation is the key.
They say it takes a lifetime to build, but takes a second to destroy. So
Yes.
can't be more true. No, I agree with that. What what what's the most exciting, Jari? What's the most exciting aspect of your work today? Like, what are you involved in today? Any particular projects that you're just incredibly passionate about? Just would love to learn a little bit more about things that you're working on today.
Kevin, the most important thing for me is integrity, ethics, and people's happiness. I love seeing people happy, especially the ones that I bring in from overseas, because when they first arrive or when they first being part of projects, it's unknown for them. But seeing them happy, and of course, happiness is equal to IRRs and ROIs. It makes me very happy.
That's not supposed to create happiness, but there's an aspect of it that surely does, Jari. I agree with you there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And knowing both worlds, living in this country over 27 years, maybe 28 now, and being actively part of Turkish business in real estate for over 5 years, almost 6 years, it helped me to learn both ends, how they react and how it's received in this country, vice versa. So balancing all of this, adjusting things, keeping every side happy, sometimes telling white lies.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, the balancing act, because there's been volatility in the marketplace over the last year and a half now. We kind of went into this year thinking that the Fed, per the market, the Fed was gonna, maybe do up to 6 rate cuts. Now, as of a couple of weeks ago, we know that might be maybe 1 or 2, per Powell's words, might be none, right? And so we're in this weird, volatile place, and not knowing exactly, what the not just the remainder of the year looks like, but the next couple of years, I think. And so just curious as to how you're managing existing projects, how you're managing that balancing act with investors as we kind of go through these turbulent times.
It's not turbulence yet. It is
Well, you
coming
think it's coming. I want to hear more about
coming.
that, because yeah,
Yes.
I would love to get your perspective there
I
as
don't want to
well.
scare anyone, but
It's
imagine
reality.
there are countries out there with 70-80% inflation declared. And imagine if it's undeclared, it's 120, 140%. It's huge. So here's the good news. The third keyword of our conversation is diversification. So we love to diversify our projects. We don't want to go after only apartments or condos or office or retail, which we never invested in retail anyways, but we really want to diversify our portfolio with five important sectors, fields that real estate has been seeing last 4 years, especially after COVID. Number one, student housing. Number two, workforce housing. Number three, senior housing, senior living housing. Number four, warehouses. And number five is logistics. Under these five real estate types, I don't think anyone, either as an investor or a developer or a service provider, are going to lose money. Those five sectors are extremely live, and it's all driven by easy financial structures. It's because imagine you're going after a luxury housing right now. Let's assume in Miami, 2024, month of April, end of April, let's say May. What are the chances 3 years from today you're going to be able to sell those units at a premium rate where you used to sell 4 years ago in Miami? Zero.
Yeah.
So that's why foreseeing what's coming and adjusting your strategies accordingly, that's where everyone should consider and be part of. Like I said, as an investor, developer, building material provider, service provider, whatever the field is. But these five sectors are the runners right now in the country.
Would you not, to that point, would you not say that the ultra low interest rates that we had, 2020, 2021, 2022, I guess part of 2023 artificially inflated some of the valuations, and so that there ultimately will be some corrections in pricing. Using the example of the A class, brand new high end in Miami, will it be worth 4 years from now what it sold for a year or two ago? Probably not. I think we can all agree with that argument. But do you think there's some pricing adjustments or price discovery that has to take place as a result of maybe overinflated pricing due to abnormally low interest rates that we experience over the last couple of years? It's in multifamily, workforce housing, in all the other sectors that you outlined there.
Well, it's a great question, and let me think for a second the smartest way to answer. I think, especially during and after COVID, people just got crazy and they start buying things that they can afford in the long run. In the short run, government helped, it was a la-la world. But after COVID, up to 3 years after COVID, with the rising inflation, people start seeing and coming to a realization what's been happening. So we're going to see foreclosures. We're going to see short lists moving forward. But also, we're going to see a lot of refinancing. That's one other key factor in this country. So even though the inflation is high right now, people predict 3 to 5 years from today, it's coming down. And refinancing is an option. So this is one of the savers for everyone. But regardless, in major cities like Miami, like LA, like New York, maybe less in New York because New York is a different market, you will start seeing foreclosures and short lists. This is a fact about the market. Most people deny it, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised 2 years from today, you're going to see similar what we had been experiencing in late 2000s.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No, please finish your thought.
Yeah. One other project type that we're working on, this is extremely important. the five types that I talk about is ground ups, right? Workforce, student housing, because there's a huge shortage in the country.
Hmm.
That's why right now we're aggressively looking for this type of projects. And we have one in Miami, heart of Miami, that we're currently working on. Student housing, I mean. The other type that's very, very appealing, especially in metropolitan cities like New York, is conversions, existing asset conversions, converting Class B office space to rental or condo, converting some beaten up hotels into rental or short-term lease or condo. So this is one other area where it's critically important to authorities to make it easier for all the bureaucratic paperwork. So they should allow or they should have new rules to make these things faster. You know, I don't want to talk about politics, but blue states versus red states versus liberals, pro tenant, pro landlord. Like we have to come to a conclusion and never forget residential is necessity. There is a huge shortage, not in this country only, in the world, for the units that people should need this shelter for. So I think all of us, from politicians to bureaucrats to providers to financiers, we all need to be open for new things.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example, and this is the most critical one. Imagine you go to a bank and ask for a loan for third story, very traditional, conventional real estate project. Banks look at the certain things. They see some key things that they want to see, like every other project, and they either approve it or deny it, right? Rejected, I'm sorry. Imagine you go to them with, hey, I'm going to do a condo. Condo will have some hospitality aspects, and hospitality aspects will tie up with some short-term lease opportunities like Airbnb. So you take totally creative project, and guess what? They reject it right away. Why? Because they're not comfortable with that.
Hmm.
So all of us need to be open for the change. And this change is extremely important to provide what people really need, either in this country or anywhere in the world. But we do need less office spaces than we used to. I hope everybody realized that during the COVID and after the COVID.
I was curious. That was one of the questions. I'm glad we went down that road. I would love to get your sentiment about office and not even specifically related to conversion opportunities there. I mean, you're an architect by trade. You know, you're a true visionary. I'm sure that you see, endless number of B class, B minus class, outdated offices that could be, repurposed into higher and better use projects, whether it be residential housing or maybe a litany of other things. I'm not sure, but just what do you, as far as the traditional office itself, everyone's got a different argument as to maybe what the office landscape looks like 5 years from now, as far as employees getting back into the workplace. I mean, my opinion, which isn't worth much, but my personal opinion is that, we're now a couple of years post COVID. A lot of larger employers have really tried to put a push behind getting a certain contingent of their workforce back into the office. Some have been slightly successful, some not successful at all. And I feel like we're at a point now where, while there might be small incremental improvements in certain markets where, office, occupancy maybe goes from 40% to 48% over the next couple of years, but it will never get anywhere near pre-COVID numbers. And for many reasons, not just related to COVID. I just think COVID accelerated what was already going to happen, given that technology has allowed it just much easier for us to work in a virtual environment and still be productive. And so, anyway, would love to understand your perspective on what do you truly think what's going to happen to the office buildings that can't find their way back to a stabilized occupancy and also aren't good candidates for a conversion because there's many that don't fit that conversion bucket, right? Like for XYZ reasons, they just don't make for good conversion candidates. What happens to those buildings?
The fourth keyword of the day is adaptation. You need to adapt yourself into something new. You cannot deny the change. Now I'm going to answer your question very brief, and we're going to find the name of the company together. Before COVID, during COVID, and after COVID, what happened to WeWork?
Yeah, I mean,
Before
completely.
COVID, during COVID, and after COVID. Before COVID, they were one of the strongest, right?
Mhm.
During COVID, they struggled, and after COVID, they bankrupt. So this cycle shows what's happening in the office space. And I just picked them because everybody knows
Yeah.
them. But imagine the office buildings in downtown Manhattan, San Francisco, Miami. Miami is an exception. It's still not struggling that much, but
Sure.
Los Angeles, Chicago especially. The occupancy dropped, according to the resources, over 62%.
Hmm.
So what's happening in these buildings? Maintenance, asbestos issues, more maintenance, for more managing it right so you can keep it fresh. And you're spending millions and millions of dollars. The easy way out is just conversion.
Well, what if
Just
it's not a good what if it's not a good candidate for conversion? You're an architect, so you know better than I as far as what take 10 office buildings in a downtown location. There's going to be a certain number of them that probably just don't have the correct floor plate layout, size. They got height restrictions. Well, I'm speaking out of my league here, but there'd be a number of those that wouldn't be good candidates, even if that was possible. Correct? From an engineering
absolutely.
standpoint. So what happened to those? That's the big question.
First of all, from financial standpoint of view, anything below 6% cap rate, run away. You don't need to be part of it for existing. For the analogy that you came up with, extremely important. If the building is not ready to convert into a residential, then the next idea is changing the zoning, knock it down, and come up with some
Mhm.
sustainable model for the office market, office zoning in that particular city. But like I said, number 5, and this is the last one, keyword for me is humanity. Once we think about real estate, we all need to think about people, along with financials, of course. Sometimes I feel like we're only talking and thinking about the financials.
Mhm.
We need to create better spaces, better places for people. We need to regenerate our living habitats, especially in metropolitan cities. It shouldn't be all about making the profit and move on to next one. It should be about, yes, but also make sure people are happy where they live, how they live. And we need to create a happier environments, which I don't think it's happening lately.
Well, I think if you lead with the people first, I mean, if you're in the residential space and you simply lead with creating a safe and well designed place for people to live and raise their families, I feel like the returns come as a result of
Yes,
that. So if you lead with the people first, the returns inevitably will come. If you lead with the returns first, typically the ones that suffer are the people.
yes. I think Kevin, it's a different time of the world right now. We see a lot of different things happening in other parts of the world. Thanks God, US is strong and helping most of them. But I think long story short, we just need to be more cautious and be more appreciative where we live, what this country is all about, what opportunities that this country is giving away to an immigrants like me. Maybe you, who knows, maybe you're an immigrant as well. Maybe your parents were. But this country is all about immigrants and what they did to this country, and this country paid them back and still paying them back. I'm a live example to that. I came to this country with nothing in 1996, and now I'm here with you, sharing ideas and life story.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And you'd mentioned I know we had talked a little bit about your daughter. I think you had mentioned she's 17, correct?
Yes, she'll be 17 on Thursday.
Yeah, so we got a birthday coming up, and is she going to follow her father's lead in real estate? What are her interests? Are they aligned at all with what you're currently doing today? Do you see her stepping into the family business at any point in time?
Well, I told her at the end she can be a broker. She's still gonna make a lot of money. But I really want her to be on the development side. Developers are like puzzle solvers, right? There's a big puzzle, sometimes with 10,000 pieces, sometimes with 100 pieces. Trust me, I started with 100 pieces because if you do not start with 100 pieces, you're never going to appreciate the 10,000 piece, and you're going to struggle finding the right path to solve it. So I want my daughter to consider to be a developer and being part of that beautiful work area where she'll enjoy and help people more and more.
Fantastic. Well, Charlie, this has been a great conversation. I really, really have enjoyed having you on here and just getting to know you more on a personal level and better understanding you and your business and just your vision and your mission with what you're doing. So appreciate your time here today. And for those that are listening in, we get hundreds of thousands that tune into the show on a monthly basis. That want to learn a little bit more about you, or maybe even reach out and stay abreast of any opportunities that are coming down the pike. Where's the best place for them to contact you, or simply just learn more about your company?
Well, we have two offices. One of them is in New York, in Manhattan, and the other one is in Design District in Miami. And this office in Miami, that's where I spend most of my time this year, not because my daughter is getting ready to go to college, so I should be around her, but also we have great opportunities and a couple of projects that we're working on that requires me staying here more and more. But I really want people who are interested in knowing what we do under the name of real estate with these 9 different companies. I really want them to stop by at Design District. The address is very simple. It's the second floor of the Airbnb Italia building. So I welcome everyone. Our office is open 7/24. I'm lying.
Yeah,
Our doors are
don't
open.
you can't put that out there to the world because you'll have people knocking on your office door at two
Yes.
o'clock in the morning.
And they're going to say, oh, but this is what he told us. During the
That
business hours, we're always here, we're open, and we have a unique office space. I designed it by myself with full of art since we're in the design district, but also very comfortable spaces that we have created because I want my employees to feel like they're at home instead of they're in the office. So they're all coming. My occupancy rate, trust me, 100% every day.
That's great. I love it. And for those that are watching the video, you can see the piece of artwork behind him. My understanding, Chari had mentioned that he's got a number of other pieces of art like that throughout his office space, and they're all backlit or they've got lighting aspects to them, and the lighting changes based on his mood, which I thought was absolutely amazing. So very cool. I'm excited to come check it out, my friend. I love that painting there. Is that a local artist,
Anytime.
by the way? Is that a local Miami-based artist?
We have three different artists. One Turkish artist that like the one behind me. Two local artists, especially from Winwood, pop art that we change every 3 months. And I give them opportunity to exhibit and to show their art. So sometimes they do evening, night events here, which I'm perfectly fine with. And then the third one are the ones coming for Art Basel and like up and coming new artists. I also give them the same chance to exhibit their art to their, especially they are mostly from Colombia and Argentina. So, like I said about like our real estate projects, it's all about diversity. If you can diversify also people who are coming in this office, trust me, there'll be more work to do.
Yeah. Well, Chari, it's been an absolute pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on, folks. I'll be sure to put the address and his office location, things of that nature, in the show notes. Just don't go visit him at 2 o'clock in the morning, business hours only. And my friend, thank you again. Wishing you all the best success here, and
Thank
looking
you.
forward to hopefully
Thanks
having
for
you back
having
on the
me.
show another time as well. Okay, you have a
Thank you,
great day,
Kevin.
Chari. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Alrighty, guys, that's all we have for this week's show. And so until we meet again next week, this is your host, Kevin Bupp, wishing you huge success. Take care now.